I will try to be really loud that you can hear me there, but you can't see. But it's important now because it will be about the small details that are in the browser. Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me here. Thank you for coming and giving a chance to talk about transparency. One of my favorite subjects is somebody who teaches interface design, and net art is of course always dealing with the double logic of transparency in the interface design, or completely the opposite meaning of transparency. Also when it comes to web design, to interfaces in general. And of course, as a GIF model, I am favoriting transparency in the GIF files as nothing else. It's the most important thing for me. But now what I'm showing to you today is not really an art project of mine, but a collection, a presentation I made especially for today. I'm going to show to you the collection of the files that look actually pretty the same. They have the same look, or you can also say they don't have any look at all. I'm going to show to you a collection of clear GIFs, or they're also called transparent GIFs. Sometimes they also appear with other names, but the main thing that they are invisible. I will go to the first one. You don't see anything, you see the browser, so you have to pay attention to the location bar, to the address. This is a pixel GIF. It is a transparent image. It's 1-to-1 pixel. Yeah, you don't see it here. It has a history. I show it to you. The first one, the history of collection started with this one. As you maybe know, me and my partner Dragan Espenshit, we are restoring GeoCities archive. GeoCities that were deleted, in 2009. Then they reappeared as a torrent. Yeah, all the pages of the 90s and the beginning of the century. They reappeared as 1 terabyte torrent. We downloaded it. We started to repair the archive, but even before it was repaired, before these pages, before we could really analyze the pages and bring them back to the web, we already started to look at them. Yeah. So, and one of the first pages I opened, and I don't even remember now what it was, but I looked at the source code. And I see that in the source code there is an absolute URL there. Yeah, as you can see here. You see the file that is on GeoCities server, and it also says to you that GeoCities is still alive, right? Because otherwise you wouldn't be able to see this address. So this was this moment. How could it be? They deleted the GeoCities, but you can see them. Yeah, so they're still. From the archives, we are linking to the files that are still there. I started to look further. Another one, there is something called CGIF. It's also on the GeoCities, and it is already 10-to-10 pixels. Yeah, it's not 1-to-1 pixels. It's some perversion. I will explain it a bit later. But the main thing that it's there. And you can see it, and at the same time you can't see it, but you can see by this that GeoCities are there, and you can recall, by looking at this file, you can recall something very important. Important about how the web pages were made in the 90s, in 95 and 96. So this clear GIF was extremely important for the early web makers, because it allowed to make layouts for the web page. You have a transparent GIF, invisible one. You can stretch it as big as long as you want, yeah. And then by this you can position other elements. So you don't have CSS. You don't know maybe how to make tables, or it's very difficult to make tables. So you arrange everything by using the transparent GIFs on the page. One of my favorite books, Creating Killer Websites, from 1996, by the known author David Siegel, who, by the way, some time ago claimed that he invented the transparent GIF, but this is not true. But he writes here, this very useful tool can now be found on tens of, the single pixel GIF trick, it's called. This very useful tool can now be found on tens of thousands of websites. By making a 1 pixel by 1 pixel transparent image, you can use the spacing and scaling attributes of HTML to move elements almost anywhere on your page. Almost anywhere is, you know, the equivalent of good enough, yeah, for the web design. So this is how collections started. Then by the way, I found his David Siegel's transparent GIF. It's also available. It's not on the place where it was before. It's sort of an archived version, but if you're there, you can use it in your collections now, or in your web pages. When I was a webmaster myself in 1996, I worked in the studio. I remember that we had the transparent GIF. It was called 0.gif, which also makes sense. It's not there anymore, but I asked the designer, and he pointed me to where it is now on his server. And this is one of the biggest, the hugest Russian web design companies, the first one and the most important one. And they still use the transparent GIF in making layouts. Let me continue with the beautiful historic example that I also remember comes from Stanford University. The scientist Charles Petrie, the scientist of Stanford Computer Scientists. By the way, his page is really up from 1993, and it's still extremely, absolutely actual. Yeah, you can get information about his courses this semester. So in 1996, he also took an effort to explain to his students and people who are interested how to make transparent GIF. He has a tutorial for this, and then in the end he says, okay, but if you can't do it yourself, take mine. And this was his blank GIF. And now we are coming, of course, back to the GeoCities, but something a bit different. It is a transparent GIF, but it is called visit.gif. And this transparent GIF was really on every GeoCities page, at least after Yahoo bought GeoCities. It was a tracking, so-called, it's a web beacon. It is a tracking transparent GIF that informs the service who was there. So transparent and visible, that is always there. And this is, today, it's one of the most common uses of the transparent GIF, so for surveillance. When it started, I'm not now comparing good old times and bad new times, but just want to say that these transparent GIFs, they have 4 meanings, they have 4 uses. One I described a lot, to make a layout. Another one was got very popular later. It was to hide something. And you know, probably everybody has this experience. You see the beautiful photo on the page, you want to save it as, and you really save it as, and then you see that you saved a 1 pixel transparent GIF on your computer. Yeah, so these transparent GIFs were and still are put in a lot of spaces to protect a real image. So you think you see, you think you get it, but you don't. It's a very simple and almost touching tactic to hide something. Then there is something else what is still very much used for this one. They are called to they are used to save the traffic. It's very often you see the menu in your browser, menu of whatever, even of Google, and then there would be, but this menu is just one image, but over it there are a lot of small 1 pixel GIFs that are scaled, and in fact you are always clicking this transparent GIF. It is made to make sites load faster. So the layouts, hiding, saving traffic, and one of the most maybe interesting today ones is as web beacon, as following, just getting information who was there from one address, who went to the site. This one was from GeoCities. The one I showed to you now, maybe you experienced it yourself, that next to the signature there would be the transparent GIF in Gmail, and it was now possible also it's possible to track it. But then when we look further, in Google, just in the images folder, there is a clear.gif, yeah, so, which is not so clear where, in what situation it is used. Yeah, and it's, I should say that I found it because I was trying all the combinations on different servers with all different names just to find these transparent GIFs. And this one is the beautiful finding. To go name, but I should show to finish with probably with the most impressive one, I would say at this moment. It's just in the parent directory of Google. Is a clear.gif laying there, one pixel transparent GIF that nobody exactly remembers what it does there, but people remember that it is there from 1999, laying there. Maybe its functionality is now taken by the one which is also in the image folder. So they have a lot of. If you have one on your server, please send it to me. I'm now going to collect them and to analyze it. I find them, of course, they're very interesting artifact of the early web and also of today's web. But most of all, I like about them that you can look to see them. You have to look at the location bar at the URL and to start to analyze and to read and also to get an idea of what are they doing. These invisible GIFs. Thank you.